if you're being very honest. Although some records have been broken, the number of spectators we had on the last practice day and the number of players competing for the final 2 rounds, which have given the RNA a headache or two, I guess. The play so far, well, from the players way down the list, the ones that were lucky enough to just tiptoe into the championship, we've seen lots of good scores from them, 66s, 67s, 68s. But the big boys so far, the ones down at the very top of the leaderboard, haven't yet started to fire. Nobody has got this championship by the lapels. Well, they always say, don't they, the championships and tournaments don't really warm up till Sunday afternoon, the last 9 holes, and I guess that's going to be just about the same here. Let's go out and see some more golf. Colin Montgomery, one of our new younger professionals here, the son of the secretary of the Royal Troon Golf Club, and someone who's been playing very well this year. He'll be in our Ryder Cup team, which is coming across the United States in September. He's a great big chap and hits the ball a long way, putts very well, but has a tendency to miss a few short putts towards the end of a tournament. At least that's what he's been doing over the last few months, but still he's very high up our leaderboard. You'll notice he's got a nice firm putting style for a big man. Good touch. Leaderboard for you to have a look at. The Eamon Darcy, a surprise leader of this championship, not an unfamiliar name, and Ian Baker-Finch, but I'm sure before the close of play tonight we're going to have a few little goodies dotted around the course, a little toasted sandwich or an ice cream, or even a glass of amber liquid. We'll return with more golf action from the 120th British Open Golf Championship after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Champagne on draft, champagne flowing.
Open continues.
Welcome back, and you can see from the flags there fluttering above the giant grandstand, there's still a good breeze blowing across the links here at Birkdale, which is causing players a few little problems, particularly over the closing stretch. Here's Ian Baker-Finch at the very difficult par 5 15th, third shot. And just on the very edge of the green. Barry Lane, BJ Singh. And Mike Harwood. The Australians continue to make a good showing, Dave.
They certainly have. For every one of them has been in contention at one moment or another in this tournament.
Talk about laying back. He's taking an iron off this hole.
This 6th hole, as you were saying, David, has been changed. It's always been a controversial hole, this bank and bunker on the right. Behind that, there's a little ditch that runs across the fairway. I wouldn't have thought it was the most difficult thing to create either a superb par 4 or a very good par 5. Much of the problem lies up round the green, which is slightly elevated. 2 bunkers in the front, left and right, but big bushes and scrub on the right. And when you can't see where you're going and the wind's howling across, this is a very small target indeed. We've seen a couple of threes here today, not all that many, but 7 in the championship so far, and both of those were got with ricochets in off the bank, and although there was one with a good second and a putt of about 25 feet, but this is a very difficult hole, and I guess will cause much more anguish before the week's over. You see it's playing at 4.69, the hardest hole on the course. 16th now, Greg Norman's second shot. He's not really firing. None of the big boys at the top there, the big names, have really caught fire, have they?
No, the ones that I thought might, especially given the weather conditions the first couple of days, when you know, just when Watson looked like he might be making a move, he puts it against the fence at the last hole. And of course, Greg, to me, he's fighting his golf game and himself, and he's just not enjoying what he's doing. When he gets back to enjoying golf, maybe we'll see the Greg Norman we've come to enjoy ourselves.
Size of 4. Where's he, left or right? Either. He's in there. Well, as you say, they're just hitting these destructive shots when you least expect them to do so. This is a hard hole, but the wind is not anywhere near as strong as it has been.
Well, he looked like he put it 20 yards over the green,
Yeah.
Peter, and they started yelling 4 as soon as he hit it. Now, that's a wild shot. They start yelling 4 on your downswing, you've really made a poor swing.
Yes, Eamon Dowse is an interesting case, the man leading the pack here. You know, recently he was quoted as saying that he really didn't wish to play in the Ryder Cup team. He thought his nerves were too old and his putting stroke was a bit shaky. And ever since he said that, he's finished in the first sort of half a dozen of every tournament he's played in. He's leading the championship, albeit only 2 and a bit away through this competition. But it's that's the way it goes. Here's Olcorn at the 6th. This is his 4th shot.
Peter, he's having plenty of problems on this hole. Drove it in the rough, pitched out, then missed the green once again, and a little bit undecided what club to pitch to the flagstick with or whether to putt it.
Temperature's not bad now, though, Jerry, is it? Nice and warm day, stiffish breeze?
Actually, it's quite warm, Peter, quite warm.
Especially when you're inside the gallery there.
That's right. The gallery really does block the wind and the coolness of the wind. Pitched it with a pitching wedge. It's a nice-looking shot. Well, got away from him down the hill.
Curtis Strange at the 18th, finishing up, hopefully, with a birdie. Just 2 over par. This would make him 1 over par and very much in contention. No, it's not to be. Do you get the feeling that when you look at some of these greens, Dave, they almost look as if they've been scalped, as if the mower's gone in too deep? And
That's what you get with Poana. It grows at an uneven pace with the rest of the grass that's on there, so you do get that little scalping look.
69 for Curtis. Here's Seve. Escaped with a 1 over par 5 at the last hole. Now at the 6th, this would be like getting an eagle if you can hold this.
Well, Peter, he seems like he's in total control of himself today. He just has not had a break with a putt. Poor bunker shot, as we saw earlier. And he must make this to get something going.
Very unsure on the greens. There's obviously something about these greens, whether they vary in pace. I don't know, but a lot of the putting has been very tentative. We've seen quite a number of putts hold, but a tremendous amount of short putts missed. But that's a good 4.
Just know he'd like to have hit a better putt there to make 4.
Better strike.
Yes.
Eamon Dowse at the 13th. A long par 4. This sort of 8, 9, 10 footer for a par, which just slid by. So Eamon goes back to 2 under. And you'll get a chance as we see him over the closing holes here. When he gets close to the hole, he tends to move his body, move his head as the putter strikes the ball. And that was one of the things he said about the getting in the Ryder Cup team. He thought his old nerves were too bad for that form of competition.
Well, I remember when they played the Ryder Cup at Muirfield in our country that Jacklin didn't even want to play. Had to, though, in the singles.
Olcorn. Oh, he was on the move. Isn't it amazing? All the people, all the books and all the people that have written and told about the Ryder Cup ended in a tie for the very first time. You're back just in time to see Ian Baker-Finch at the 15th, putt for a birdie. Another one just avoids the hole, but that's a par 5.
Become a very popular figure at home, Peter. The U.S. there, 2 seconds this year.
56 yards, shortest hole on the course.
Seve seemed to hit the ground a bit heavy there as he got it up. Not a dust flew. Yes, he hit that one heavy. Just took a little bit of sting out of it. But he's found the front of the green. Barry Lane through the 11th. It's a good, very good par 4, the 11th. So again, a slightly raised green. The ball can be thrown off it, left and right, beyond. Tricky little shot here.
He's just so hard because the grass is so thin there. He tried to went ahead and ran it through there, putted it.
Yeah. He wishes he'd chipped it now.
Oh, yeah. But you never can tell about the lie, though. It looks good from here, but if he's just sitting a little cuppy, maybe the safe shot was to put it.
Mike Harwood. This is on tape. This was Harwood at the 6th hole.
240, Peter.
Oh, good shot. If he comes off that little hill, it could come up very close. Great shot.
How about that after laying up?
Playing with Harwood. Gary Hallberg, we're out there. This is as it happens, and Hallberg just short of the green, 3rd shot.
He played a wonderful second from out of the right-hand rough, out of a bad lie, and he ran it up the little entrance here to get it on the front edge. Got a shot of about 90 feet.
Had a tough shot here, though, doesn't he, Bob? He's got that mound to contend with. What do you think he's going to try to do with it?
He's taking a sand wedge, and he's going to try and pitch it over the mound and skip it, have one bounce. He's pitching into the wind. Didn't bite.
See, considering they say that greens are spongy, this balls run on sometimes. There's a fine view from a high camera looking down on the 16th tee. Over 230 yards, 220 yards, carry over the scrubs of the fairway. Slight dog leg left to right. It's going left. And will it go across the fairway or will it hold? No, just into what looks like lightish rough, but there's some few patches of rough in there, and this really is, from this camera, a majestic looking hole. If you really wanted to be mean, I suppose you could put a couple more bunkers on the left-hand side.
Well, then you
really
would
make
finish.
it possible. 15th green on the right, and all that great golfing country at the background there, and the sea beyond. Seventh hole now, par 3.
From about 15 feet uphill. This is one of the first putts Seve's had today that he can really make a run at it. He's been a little tentative on his putting, and I think, as you said earlier, Peter and David, he's been moving a little bit. Most of these players are moving. They're just not confident with the pace and the speed of these greens.
Again, comes up short. Back to the 6th, Mike Harwood for a birdie and a share of the lead. He really is a beautiful putter. He's a sort of right-handed Bob Charles in a way, sort of lean, lanky figure. So leader now is Eamon Darcy. Another check on the leaderboard. Two players now sharing the lead. And a whole lot more chasing up behind. Time now to join Frank Hannigan, who's with Curtis Strange.
Curtis, why is this championship so flat? Why isn't anybody doing anything?
Well, Frank, it's I think there's a couple of reasons. One is that the greens aren't what they seem. They're by the sea, which means they're seaside greens or Poa annua, and they're very tough to make putts on. Not being critical of the greens, they look very green and smooth, but actually very bumpy and a little bit quick, and they're scary. Number two is there's still some wind out there. I think we're seeing a calm day, and you're playing some holes. Alan and I were out there in some holes that we haven't really played before because it's been blowing every day here. And then number three, it's the British Open. And the pressure of the British Open is, I think you're seeing some of the leaders, feel that today.
You're, what, 3 or 4 shots behind right now? You would like to have made that one on 18, wouldn't you?
Oh, I just, you try so hard on one because you feel like you kind of mess around all day long and you don't do anything very exciting, and then all of a sudden you get at 18, you get a little bit of a break, and I really wanted to get that one in there because I look at on the board and you can't help but look at the names that are up there. Eamon Darcy, who have played against him in the Ryder Cup, but it's British Open time. You don't know where Seve is, you don't know where Faldo is, so you kind of feel like you might be able to sneak up there very quickly, and didn't quite get it in. But I played fairly solid. Again, I think the greens are a great equalizer out there.
Your twin brother is caddy for you this week, Alan. You guys still speaking?
He's doing a pretty good job. He's really surprised the hell out of me. Actually, there's so many sprinkler heads out there. I'm double checking because I don't want to, at this point in time, you don't want to get a bad yardage. But he does a great job. He's, after playing on tour and knowing what's going on, he knows what's going on. But it's just funny down. Like I tell you the story. He gets downwind and you hit a 7-iron from 230 yards. He says, "I'm not making this call. You do it."
Thanks. So what do you want from a stockbroker? Okay. Thanks very much, Curtis. Back up to Roger.
Barry Lane at the 11th, though, but this is for 1 over par 5. Another little putt missed. So he's taken 4 shots from just 8-10 feet over the back of the green. Gary Halberg at the 6th. This is for a par. And see, that wanders away and goes on and leaves him a tested little putt back.
Well, wind greens are spongy, as you know. Those are the hard ones, the ones that you have to hit easy, and yet you've got some marks between you and the hole.
It's Baker-Finch on the 16th. He's over on the left, that little group, just over the walkway, just ahead of that little group, in the lightish rough. And if he's lying well, he shouldn't have any great problem in finding the green. The greens here on the hole are pretty big and relatively flat. He's 1 under now. It's 3 under for the day out in 32. And I still think the false par here of 70 Dave has made. I can only assume they didn't want anyone to come in and win the championship with 20 under par, which makes a bit of a mockery of it. Here's Baker-Finch. He struck that very nicely, but will it hold? Yes.
Very confident player right now, Peter.
Had a good run, hasn't he?
Yes, he has, and he's really a nice guy.
Mike Harwood, joint leader on the 7th, the par 3.
148 yards today. Very little wind, although there's a little more up on the tee than there is down here on the green.
Well-placed tee shot from Harwood. The last group out on the course in this 3rd round of the Open Championship. Eamon Darcy, Harwood lead the way. Mark O'Meara established a Birkdale course record when he shot a 64 here in the 2nd round of a European PGA Tour event known as the Batley Invitational in 1987. Well, what O'Meara did on the last 9 holes defies belief. He holed a full 7-iron for eagles on both the 11th and the 16th holes. Oh yes, O'Meara did win the event. Ian Baker-Finch at the 16th, long putt, but if he should get it, he ties for the lead.
Run it out. Run it out.
It's there as it comes. greens are a little spongy. Sometimes I think with the traffic around the hole, it can become a little raised, you know, it's almost like a little cone. But you see, he's smiling. He knows he did well to get down in 2 from there. 18th now, Mark Mouland, who got off to a disastrous start. 6-5, 3 shots gone in the first 2 holes. That's really come roaring back into it. Dropped a stroke at the last hole, missed that putt there, but around, he's got around, he's now about even par, or 1 over par. So he's finished poorly and started poorly, and in the middle he had about 7 birdies.
Second shot at 8.
Seve from 189 yards, wind straight behind him with a 7-iron. In the short rough, but not a factor. Started it right on line with the flag. Oh, beautiful shot.
Yeah, so it's a lovely iron shot.
That's what I haven't seen much of this week, Peter, is shots close to the hole.
No.
We hit a lot of greens here, but you're putting like Ian Baker-Finch did, your 25, 30 footers. Don't make a lot of those.
Be some fun and games tomorrow if the wind should change. The wind has been fairly constant from this direction. 7th hole, and Harwood again. You see, he's a long way away too, isn't he? There's the hole way over there, 12 paces or more to the left. Not really threatening to get her, you know, a birdie. Oh, not bad at all. Well, many of you may not have heard of Mike Harwood. Frank Hannigan spoke to him. Here's what he had to tell us about himself.
Do you have any thoughts or interest in playing more in the United States in the future?
Well, I won 3 tournaments last year and won nearly $1 million in prize money, and I was hoping to get enough invites over there this year to get my card up. I was hoping to get 7 or 8, and which I thought I would get, and unfortunately I had to pull out one through the injury to TPC, and the others were just a blatant no, and it's made it a bit hard to it's obviously a bit hard to get your money up in 1 or 2 tournaments, and I'm not really prepared to go to the Players School because I've had to fight my way up over the last 13 years, and I don't want to do it again.
So if I understand, Michael, you asked some sponsors for invitations to tournaments in the States this year, and they declined your invitation, or they declined to invite you.
Yeah, basically. I mean, they had their own players. They wanted to invite a few local players, and they particularly wanted Craig Parry, which I can understand. He's being an Australian, and probably with him playing over there, they didn't want 2 Australians.
You think there's a quota on Australians?
Well, I hope so. Certainly Craig's one at the moment. He's playing fantastic, and he obviously deserved his spot probably more than what I did. And but if I have a good year this year, if I can finish it off, then you never know. Someone might invite me over.
Holberg at the 7th for a par. Oh, that rattled in. Suppose if you get them online on the right speed, Dave, they've got a good chance of going in.
Yeah, he made one then. It looked like he was just going to hit it. If this goes okay, if not, I'm out of here.
The 15th, and joint leader, Eamon Darcy. There's a chance for a birdie. Well, just to finish off the point I was making earlier about Eamon, saying that he really thought he was, his nerves were a little bit too weak. You'll watch here, just see how he strikes the bat. I think if he has no intention of playing in the Ryder Cup, he should tell Vernon Gallagher, the captain, now. That was a better strike. He kept it, he moves his shoulders and he moves his head. He got another birdie. I'm a great fan of Eamon's because he plays his own game. I think David Ledbetter has a recurring nightmare that one day he might come along and ask him for a lesson, and I don't think how he would sort out that swing. But there we are. We'll return with more golf action from the British Open Golf Championship after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
The British Open, brought to you by Kellogg's, the best to you each morning. By Titleist, winner of more worldwide tour events from 1988 through 1991 than any other ball. By Lincoln, what a luxury car should be. And by Sharps from Miller, the breakthrough non-alcoholic brew that lets you keep your edge.
12th green, Colin Montgomery putting for a 2 on this par 3, and yes, rattles one in, goes to 1 under, just a couple behind Eamon Darcy, our leader at 3 under par. Ballesteros had this putt up the 8th green for a birdie, super second shot. This is what happens. Smooth as silk. Now we'll go down to the 16th tee and find Eamon Darcy, 3 under par. Isn't this a wonderfully sort of home concocted swing? This isn't in any textbooks, I can tell you that. Gone left towards that lonely field. May stop short of the...
Perfect, that, miss.
Well,
Perfect, that.
there they go after. If that's... There's a little patch in there that's very thick, Dave.
Yes, I saw them walking around about a 20-yard patch.
Yeah.
The worst looking on the course.
Seve at the 9th, tee shot. Using a lot of irons from the tee.
Well, he only used 4 drivers the first day off the tee.
Perfect. Harry Holberg at the 8th. The final pair.
190 yards with a flag, downwind, wind kicking up just a little more. 7 iron.
Nice easy swing and a very good result. This is the 8th hole. Of course, with the wind in this direction, this is just a pussycat of a hole. There's really no trouble at all. But I can tell you, when the wind's the other way, this is 2 full-blooded woods and then some, and the bunkers really do come into play. Very well-positioned bunkers here. Here's Mike Harwood.
He's 187. Speaking of hitting woods, he has not hit one yet off the tee. That was a 7 iron. That ball's on the right-hand side of the green, about 35 feet from the hole.
That's what I mean with the 7 iron.
Yes.
I mean, just guys that really...
Now, Mark O'Meara, he's going along nicely at the 10th, putt for a birdie.
Good birdie attempt for Mark, just inside of 10 feet. A little breaker from his left. I tell you, he got the ball up and down out of bunkers on the front 9 3 times. It's been a scrambling start, but a good one.
Mark O'Meara marks as we take another look across the links at Birkdale, and our leaderboard shows us that Darcy still leads the way. British Open clubhouses like this Edwardian structure at Lytham tend to be small and quaint compared to their American counterparts. So American visitors to Birkdale tend to blink and say, "What on earth is that?" The Birkdale clubhouse, with its gleaming white walls and flat roofs on different levels, is like none other. Opened in 1935, the Birkdale clubhouse has been called an interesting example of the Art Nouveau style, or just a dreadful mistake. Championship leader Eamon Darcy out of the rough at the 16th. Seemed to make pretty good contact with that long shot elevated green, and he finds the green and just goes off the back. That's a good recovery from there. Rather fortunate not to find that really heavy patch of rough. Baker-Finch at the 17th, second shot. 1 under. And that's going to hold nicely. Baker-Finch, of course, a tall, elegant figure and a very smooth, rhythmical swing, in complete contrast to Eamon Darcy's swing. I mean, Baker-Finch is classically correct. Tall figure. Nice shoulder turn, Davey. Right at the top there, down and through. Not much to say about that, except a nice, smooth rhythm.
Very
Swing of a
loose.
young fella.
On balance.
Yeah. Big turn. I like the way all the good players get the club head right past the chin and sort of punching their weight in boxing terms. So, right there and through. Big follow through. Big, long, wide follow through. Good leg action. All things must have a good foundation. Like Harwood at the 8th, 3rd shot. Yes, well, a good run at it, but you're really only hoping to 2 putts from that range, Dave.
That's right. And again, you see so many 30, 40-foot birdie putts.
13th hole, this was one of the holes that used to be a par 5. They knocked a few yards off and it became a 4. Downwind again. This is only played a 3-wood or a driver and a 7-iron, 6-iron, 8-iron. Now he's way back. This is the old Scottish run-up, if you like. This is his 3rd shot and he's electing to putt it. The ground must be pretty smooth or parched. I wonder if he takes 3, I wonder if he'll tell us he 3-putted the 13th. He's had some practice in Scotland. That was some 40, 50 yards.
He could read the fairways.
Yeah, he could read the fairways well. 16th, having played out of the rough, Eamon Darcy, the championship leader. Not all that far away from the hole. I don't think he'll have any trouble in getting it at it too. Pushes it up. Has he pushed it hard enough? Not quite, still a bit to do.
Best finish in an Open Championship is 11th, tied for 11th in 1985.
Let's have another look at Colin Montgomery. Talking about the old Scottish round-up. Let him keep the ball near the grove. He certainly did that. The old Texas wedge or the Scottish run-up, and works to perfection. Well, we were talking about swings, and we were looking at Ian Baker-Finch's classical wide rhythmical swing. Now, Eamon here, he's got so many moving parts, you wonder where to start, but you watch the right elbow sort of come way out at the top of the swing. He takes it back. You see how the left arm goes. Then the right elbow comes up. Look at the position of the hands at the top of the backswing. That looping down, thrusting right through the ball, the heave up, and yet that magical bit sort of 2 feet before impact and 18 inches after it, always in position. So really, a swing is a swing is a swing. Baker-Finch, and he's done it. An eagle at the 17th, and that smartens him up. That takes him to 3 under.
$500 for the round today.
Yep.
Of course, at the new course, it's at 66 is the course record shot by a number of people this week. So if he pars the last hole, it could be a new course record.
Yeah, that puts him jointly in the lead. Well, the reason for the new course is the 7th hole, little 7th tee, and a new teeing ground there. I don't think they should change or lose records if they don't change the par. I see no reason just because you move a tee on a par 3 to make it to scrub all the records that have gone before. Darcy has this putt to stay jointly in the lead. And he gets it. He's rolling along nicely.
Very calm, Peter.
Rolling rolling along very nicely with the very birdieable 17th coming up. He's in very good shape. You've seen Ian Baker-Finch get a 3, an eagle at the 17th. Seve at the 9th for a birdie. There's the view looking back towards the clubhouse down the 18th, the television compound on the right, the clubhouse and the tented village behind, and all the hospitality pavilions. And there, site of the leaderboard. Well, that doesn't change all that much. We'll go down and show you the scores of the other players. Maybe your own particular favourites amongst them.
As we've said before, it doesn't seem like anyone has had any momentum all week. And what a tournament to come into tomorrow and have someone shoot a good last 18 and steal the tournament, if you will. Graham Marsh almost did it when Watson won here in 85.
Yes, I think it was, he came in with a 64 and then the wind got up. I think that may happen tomorrow. But you see, Faldo, Norman, these people are 3 over. They're really going to have to do or create a new course record tomorrow if they're going to come from this far back and steal the championship. So you've got 113 players, which is the largest amount ever in a championship due to the 10-stroke rule. Anyone within 10 strokes of the leader, and that has been a very expensive item for the R&A, having to find another 35 or 40 amounts of prize money.
So it's about £98,000.
Yep,
total.
And now our regular feature on what's new in the world of sports and sciences and technology, something for your amusement and entertainment. Let's look at it. While we were away, Mike Harwood made his second shot to the 9th. One behind the leaders. And a lovely shot which didn't quite take in. It's gone on again. It's very difficult to get the ball close down.
You just, tired of saying it, that you really haven't seen very many shots stop near the hole. I know we've seen a lot of good shots hit, but it's been very difficult for them. Is it because the greens are big, you think?
Maybe so, yeah. But see Vijay Singh, now there's an interesting character from Fiji in the Pacific Islands, 1 under. Now that would be a turn-up if he could sneak in and win this championship, wouldn't it?
Yes, but I think he's got a beautiful swing.
Oh, he's a good player, yeah. Well, they said years ago they had a Frenchman, Arnaud Massy, came over here with no chance. He won the championship, many years ago. But all things are possible. Ian Baker-Finch now has come off that eagle at the 17th. And now on the 18th tee and just making the decision what club to take, where to try and aim it. Most of the trouble down the right. I think 2 of the most amazing shots yesterday was Tom Watson and Lee Trevino, both finding severe trouble down the right-hand side of this 18th when there's really a tremendous amount of room down the left. Ian's driven it very lucky. I don't know what possessed him to take a metal driver or whatever there, because that's the only danger, isn't it, getting in that bunker and then finding another bunker up there and taking 5 or 6. I would at the 9th. Yeah, just putting again. See, that'll go on. Now there's Vijay. He's been coming here for a couple of seasons now. He uses alternates between the cross-handed putting stroke and the regular. He's got a putty at the 14th for birdie. He's 1 under. Yeah, they just wander on, don't they? You think that's just a tap in, and then suddenly you've got a 4-footer left.
One you've got to work on. The characteristic of Poana grass is that the ball sort of wiggles,
snakes away,
down to the hole.
Yeah.
If it snakes at the wrong time, you lip out.
Hallberg for a birdie.
Gary Hallberg hadn't played very well, but he's lingering. He can make this one. He's only a couple behind.
Been a bit of a struggle, Bob, eh?
Yes, it has.
14th green now, the last of the short holes. Barry Lane now 1 over par. This putt for birdie to get back to level. Big swing across the face of the hole. Very nearly a good putt. Perhaps if that had been travelling a little bit quicker, it might have held its line. He'll stay at 1 over. This is it back to the 9th. Harwood, who putted from the back of the green, ran it by. Well, it looks to be nearer 5 feet than 4 now, doesn't it, Dave?
Yes, I'm sure it's looking like 6 or 7 to him. Very methodical the way he puts his left hand on the putter each time.
He lines the back of his left wrist and with the blade of the putter, so they're just a little mannerism that so many of us have. But he's a beautiful putter, slightly mechanical in this sort of modern method of arms and shoulders all moving together, but he gets this department done very well. Having said that, see, you put the kiss of death on him. 3 from the edge of the green.
What we were talking about before, though, and late in the day, see how close his foot is to the hole?
Yeah.
Within, say, 6 inches, and tends to raise that, or at least makes a little depression.
Yeah, that's right.
Like a donut.
Absolutely. Because there was they've been having some rain at night, so there's moisture in the greens. They dry out, they get a little bit sort of crusty. Spongy and crusty, all in sort of one go, almost like a meringue, sort of hard and soft underneath.
I know you know about the meringue.
I'm an expert on those meringues. Here's the 14th green, VJ. Now he'll probably cross-hand this one, I would think, but you never know with him.
It's the same kind of putt that we just saw a second ago. Now he's going
regularly.
Yeah.
Looks to have huge hands. Rolled it in very smoothly. Only a shot or two back. Isn't it great that you've got people now coming from all sorts of weird and wonderful places playing the golf well? Darcy at the 17th, second shot. Oh, in trouble. Just couldn't thread it between the bunkers. This hole, though, has been massacred this week, this par 5. Downwind's just a drive in an 8, 9, 7 iron.
Well, they're playing at 4.2, and you're playing the 6th hole, which they allegedly say is, as we looked at it there, Peter.
Well, the sand dunes on the left and the right on the 200-yard mark, those are quite formidable hazards when the wind's the other way. But today, it's pretty easy and pretty straightforward. Well, time to say goodbye from me, but I'm going to pass you over to Roger Twible, who is with a very familiar figure from the world of golf, Jack Nicklaus.
Well, thank you very much, Peter. And Jack has finished his play, of course, today, a round of 69, plus 4 for the championship. And Jack, what about the conditions? It looks so gentle today as compared to the last 2 days, but other than a couple of players going out very early today, nobody's really throwing anything at this course.
Really haven't, Roger. I think the golf course is a little bit more benign today. I think it's the wind is just a shade more into the northerly section out of the west than it was. I don't know whether that's really where it exactly is, but it's more northerly than it was. And we're finding that just a little slight change, but there really isn't much wind. I mean, the golf course is really relatively easy today. I suppose when you shoot a good score that the golf courses do seem easier, but I'm surprised. I would expect to see more good scores. There's not as many players on the greens. The pins are in different areas, so that they haven't been areas we haven't used, and I'm a little surprised.
Oh, we saw some guys go out early today. Brett Ogle made 8 birdies, some bogeys. Nolan Hankey with a good round. But is it the pin placements that's difficult today, or is the greens the players just having problems with? Are there questions when you get over the putt about what it's going to do?
Well, the greens have been that way all week, Roger. I mean, it's all week everybody has said that the greens are not of their usual open standard. They're the same as they've always been here at Birkdale. They've always been sort of spongy. They've always been basically poignant, and they're just a little bit difficult to putt and difficult to read.
Well, Ian Baker-Finch figured out 17, which has been one of the spongiest greens for an eagle, and he has hit his tee shot, got a good break, bounced over the bunker, and he's taking a look at his second shot now at 18. He's at 3 under. Jack, he's got just a bit of that light rough there in front of the bunker. Pins cut back and left today.
Yeah, he's really in the best position you could possibly be in. The rough really isn't too much there. You know, this is such an unusual golf course. They're all British links golf is. You can end up one place perfect and 3 feet away. You can't even hit it 30 yards. And he ended up bouncing over the edge of the bunker, which he would have had to take a sand wedge, and he'd be playing basically the same shot for his third shot. And well, now he's got a good angle. He's going to probably play. I guess he's probably playing about an 8-iron from there.
Can he go right at the pin, or does he have to run it up?
He can run right at it from that angle.
Oh, it looked like he lost the club there, Jack.
Well, he may have not had quite the perfect line as he thought, but I guess it must not have been too bad. He didn't lose it too badly.
Well, Ian Baker-Finch with a hand slap from his caddy Pete Bender, and they make their way up to the green at 18 for a birdie opportunity now. Eamon Darcy, his third shot at the par 5 17th.
It's a long bunker shot, Roger.
Don't blame me or anyone.
I'll take my chances.
Don't you ever leave that at home?
It's just right. It's right here.
Now, at the 10th hole, Seve for birdie. He's at even.
This is one of the few greens in the golf course that actually breaks.
Scene here at Royal Birkdale, giving the greeting to Ian Baker-Finch. And Jack, you've made this walk up here many a times at Royal Birkdale.
Well, I think all through the whole British circuit, Roger, the people are just fantastic. They give all the players a great ovation. They really appreciate good golf.
So the Australian Ian Baker-Finch, who of course plays in the United States Tour, right now with a chance to move it to 4 under par, and we'll return with more golf action from the British Open after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Now 2 shots off the lead. Now at 18, this is Ian Baker-Finch, this putt for birdie, and sole possession to lead at 4 under. Five birdies, an eagle today. The moment tied with Eamon Darcy, who's back at 17, who has a putt for birdie there. Jack, when you say spongy, what do you mean by that when the greens are spongy?
Well, actually, Roger, the greens just have a very thick thatch bed. The greens are 99% Poanya. And all the greens here at Birkdale sort of sit in a valley. And the water doesn't go anywhere, and the roots are very shallow, and they've just sponged up and got a thatch bed on them, and they're just sort of like a cushion.
Now, Baker-Finch. It's for birdie. Round of 64. Ian Baker-Finch with a new course record, 6 under 64. He is at 4 under for this championship. Man who lost in a 7-hole playoff last week to Bruce Fleischer at Sutton, Mass.
You know, this young man has been knocking at the door for quite a while, Roger, and I've always liked his swing and liked the way he's managed his life. He's sort of very quietly come into the golf scene. He hasn't tried to push himself, and he's really done a beautiful job. I'm delighted to see him play well.
And he is a tremendous putter. So eagle birdie finish for Ian Baker-Finch. And the Australians continue to impress this week. And we're going to move out to the 13th hole here. 475-yard par 4. Marco Mir and Howard Clark. Judy Rankin's with him.
Well, Howard Clark will play first here. He's a little bit better than 195 yards to the hole. Both players hit an iron off the tee here. It's playing downwind, although the wind is pretty mild at the moment. today is cut right in the center of the green.
Clark right now, +2 for the day. Began the day at even par.
Given himself a number of birdie opportunities, but hasn't been able to make the putts.
He struggled during the past year. No top 10 finishes since the Lancome Trophy last year here in Europe, but he hits a lovely shot in there. Now out at 15, third shot for Vijay Singh at the par 5. Jack, this hole's been relentless the last couple of days. How did it play today?
Well, I think it's a little easier today, Roger. The wind's not quite as strong, and you can play, actually you can play 2 irons and carry it over the cross bunkers.
Now, Mark O'Meara.
Now that's from 193 yards, downwind, probably no more than a 6-iron. He seems very relaxed, Roger. He just finished a double-dip ice cream cone.
Is that right? Well, that's all part of the British Open. Close to the course, you can find that. Now, Colin Montgomery at 15, his third shot at the par 5. After a birdie at 12, a bogey at 13. And there's the point you made, Jack, about how the rough just a few yards away can be so much deeper.
He obviously had a pretty good lie there, but he could have been, well, he could have even reached it with a sand wedge if it had been maybe a foot different direction.
There's a look down at 18, and it's par 4, 472 yards. Tom Watson, who's had a bit of a struggle so far today. Yesterday here at 18 had to take an unplayable, but after getting to 5 over after 15, he birdied 16, birdied 17, and Tom at +3 and 2 over for the day. And can he make it 3 birdies in a row? Well, he's going to have a chance to. Long putt. Tom said, Jack, that sometimes here at Birkdale you need to look at the pin sheet before you go out, because the placement of your tee shots here is so critical to give yourself a chance to get close to the pin. We've seen so many long putts today, but nobody really getting the ball that close.
Well, Roger, one of the things I do, there's about half a dozen holes on the golf course. Well, I'll ask my caddy where the pin and which side of the green, and I'll sometimes I just soon hit it in the rough on the right side, on the proper side, than into the fairway because of the angle to the hole. And you're exactly right, because you can't stop the ball anyway.
It was Mike Harwood, his third shot at the par 4 10th hole. Had some trouble, of course, being there in the rough. And now this is Vijay Singh. This putt for birdie at the 15th hole.
He's kind of down a little bit. He's got to up and over a little bit of a crown.
Vijay at -1.
Green is just not very fast.
Now, Eamon Darcy on the tee at 18. Eamon made a par there at the 17th after finding the bunker with his second shot. And you hate to make par at 17. It's playing so easy.
Now that's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Here, Roger.
I'm just going by statistics, Jack. 4.2 scoring average. That's a good drive by Eamon. He is at -3, 4 under on the day.
See, now, oddly enough, he's right in the center of the fairway, but he's got a hard angle to the hole. You're almost better off in the right rough if you want to try to get the ball to the hole on 18, which is where Ian was, Baker-Finch.
Now, Mark O'Meara for birdie out at 13.
Mark missed good opportunities. You saw the opportunity at 10, another good one that he had at 11, and did roll it in at the last hole. Fired a 5-iron in there inside of 6 feet.
Just missed that.
Now, do you see how that ball sort of just kept on going there? What has happened here on these greens, they're soft going to the hole, and then once the ball starts going downhill, where all the footprints have been, is coming back off of the sort of like the raised crown of the hole, and the ball just sort of scoots and gets on an extra foot or so beyond the hole, more than the player thinks. So you've got to be a little bit careful in the speed that you take to the hole. You can't be too aggressive, but you've got to be aggressive enough to hold your line. So it's a hard game. I think that's why the scores have been a little higher than you might expect them to be.
Tom Watson, back-to-back birdies at 16 and 17. His putt for birdie at 18. Tom, who went through a difficult stretch on the front side where he ran into some birdie problems from holes 6 through 14. Really struggled. Got a few back, has a putt left for par in a round of 72. Is Mike Harwood now. This putt for par at the 10th hole. Harwood, with that putt, remains at -1 and 3 shots back of Ian Baker-Finch. Baker-Finch, a round of 64, a course record, and a one-shot lead over Eamon Darcy in the 3rd round of the British Open.
Nick Faldo, the defending champion, won his first tournament as a professional right here at Birkdale in 1978. It was the British senior-old after watching Jack Nicklaus win the Masters on TV.
From sharp minds come sharp products.
The first column there, the scores for the championship. Next to that, the scores today. Ian Baker-Finch, a course record, 6 under, 64. Eamon Darcy, 4 under, 66. And Mark O'Meara playing 18 after making eagle at 17, 2 under today. And 1 shot back. Mike Reed has birdied 3 of the last 4 holes. He's 3 shots behind Ian Baker-Finch, as is Seve Ballesteros, Mike Harwood from Australia, and Vijay Singh. As we go to Seve for birdie at 15.
They all know that green's slow, but you can't make yourself get it.
Now, Howard Clark, second shot at 18.
Boy, from very far back, 250 yards or so out of the rough.
Howard is +3 after making birdie at 17, and it stays in that bunker. Well, it could be a very difficult lie for him there. It seemed to get hung up on the edge. Now, Mark O'Meara.
229 yards to the hole. Mark has a good lie, but the ball sits just slightly below his feet, a little hump in the fairway. Wind at his back. Probably take about a 4-iron. Hit it in there in the front.
They're asking it to cut. Oh, that's a fine play right there.
Good, strong shot.
So Mark O'Meara with a chance today to go 3-3 at 17 and 18, and if he makes that putt, he would gain a share of the lead with Ian Baker-Finch as we go to 15. Third shot for Mike Harwood.
He's 155 yards, has a 6-iron. Right-hand bunker kind of comes into play today. Boy, there are 3 great irons in a row.
Looks like he's all of a sudden found his swing after a case of the lefts, Rossi.
That's right. Well, Harwood has made back-to-back birdies, and we want you to be sure to be with us tomorrow as coverage of the Tour de France continues. We'll witness the dramatic developments involving American Greg LeMond on his quest for a 3rd straight title. So don't miss our 90-minute special. That's at 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central and Pacific here on ABC Sports, the Tour de France. Now, at 16, Mike Reed for birdie. Mike has birdied 12, 14, and 15. Just stays left, so par for Mike Reed at 16. And Mark O'Meara at 18. Jack, you've had some back problems. Talk about, the day-to-day uncertainty of a back and playing golf like Mark's going through right now.
Well, you don't know. I mean, I've gone through it for years where I'd get up in the morning, I'd feel great, I'd go to the golf course, and all of a sudden, oops. And then you sort of have to watch it all day long. And I think we've all gone through that. Fortunately, I found an exercise program that has really helped me, and I've been able to not worry too much about the oopses anymore. But I think we're all a little bit lazy in certain ways. Unless you hurt, you're not going to do the things that prevent it. And now I do about an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and a half a day, and so far, I've knock on wood, but it's been preventing it.
David, do you think when a guy has a hurt like that maybe he's more conscious about relaxing and being just a little bit more careful, and that maybe influences his swing somewhat?
Well, I haven't had a bad back, but I certainly would be careful. I know when I hurt my knee, I was very careful about what I did.
Well, you compensate in favor. You constantly, whether you think you are or not, Roger.
Yeah, Seve at 16 now.
That is one of the toughest tee shots on the golf course, I think. As a matter of fact, I think it is the toughest.
Well, he has gone way left there today. He went way right there yesterday.
And that patch of rough is terrible right there. It's 414 yards, and it's a little dog-leg right, but your tee shot is blind over a little knob. The bushes on the right's where Seve went yesterday, which is unplayable. The bunkers are bad, and you play at the fairway at an angle, and you go through into the rough on the left, which is very difficult. Your second shot, if you do happen to hit it in the fairway, is to an elevated green, which drops off into two little bunkers on the left side of the green, bushes further on, and then the right side of the green drops off down into not a very good area. Obviously, if you hit 2 good shots, it doesn't play hard, but I don't know what hole it does if you hit 2 good shots.
Now, at 18, Mark O'Meara for birdie. O'Meara, who you heard Judy mention earlier, had to withdraw from his last 2 tournaments. Missed the cut the one before that, and as we heard in the interview, really hasn't played since the U.S. Open.
Well, you always say beware of the hurt golfer.
Yeah.
Three. 2 days in a row, Mark O'Meara goes eagle birdie at 17 and 18, and he has gained a share of the lead in this 3rd round of the British Open with Ian Baker-Finch. And Mark is one of those guys, I believe he sits in the number 12 spot in the Ryder Cup points.
Be a big jump for him. Be a lot of help for that. Bonus points because it's the Open.
Now, Mike Harwood for birdie at 15. Harwood's birdied 13 and 14 to get it to 1 under. Began the day at -2. So the tall Australian will have that putt for par to remain at -1. Mark O'Meara, Ian Baker-Finch tied for the lead.
Mind you, this championship is not being played at the Birkdale Golf Club. It's now Royal Birkdale Golf Club. The honorific Royal has been accorded to only 37 of more than 2,000 golf clubs in Great Britain. How do you get to be a Royal? It often goes to championship courses and to others that have been frequented by members of the royal family over the years. Although it's never happened, there's nothing to stop an American course being so honoured. Imagine, if you will, Royal Winged Foot. Has a nice ring about it, don't you think?
And we welcome you back. A moment ago, Seve Ballesteros' second shot from the deep rough at 16.
That's from 184 with a 5-iron. Had a great lie in the rough.
Well, I guess he must have had a great lie, Jerry. That's the worst rough on the golf course.
Well, and Seve's got a putt at it at 16. He's at -1, even par on his round today. And there's a look at those sand hills here at Royal Birkdale, as you're taking a look at Andy Oldcorn, his third shot at 16. Playing along with Seve. He's 4 over on his round today, +2 for the championship. His best finish ever was right here at Birkdale in that tournament, the Lawrence Badley Invitational, which Mark O'Meara won in 1987. And he's a young man that's been really suffering from a virus-like condition the past couple of years. His health has been very poor. Couldn't play at all in '89 and just started to play, David, a little bit last year.
Well, it's good to see him back playing. It's some viral infection that they really don't have any cure for. Don't know what causes it, and almost put him out of business.
Now, Mike Harwood at 16.
It's only the third time he's used his driver today. That'll be all right.
It's big strands of trees back there. It's a little unusual on a British Open course, as Seve stalking this putt. Well, of course, this has really picked up the action here in the past hour at this 120th British Open, and tomorrow morning our coverage of this prestigious event will continue. The final round of this 120th British Open from Royal Birkdale, and our live coverage begins at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 a.m. Central, and folks out west, get up at 6:30 a.m. Pacific time. Final round of this British Open right here on ABC Sports. And once again, Baker-Finch, O'Meara tied for the lead at -4. Darcy, one shot back at -3. Then Ballesteros, Reed, Harwood, and Vijay Singh, all at -1, with Reed and Harwood, of course, still on the course along with Seve.
Roger, I think the thing you can say today about Seve's round is he's had a great deal amount of composure and patience. He started out, as we know earlier, with bogeys on 4 and 5, and he's come back with birdies on 8 and 12, and stay composed. That's the name of the game at the British Open.
Well, from where he hit his tee shot, Jack, that could have been a lot worse.
4 is a good score in that hole anytime, let alone from the rough.
So Seve makes his par, and I had a chance to talk to Seve yesterday about improvement in his game.
Well, I've been working with David Lebetter a little bit, and I met him in Japan in April, and I changed a couple of things on takeaway, and since then, things are getting better and better. And the biggest improvement this year for me has been putting. I've been putting much better, and I think once you start making some putts, it takes the pressure away. You feel more relaxed, and you can walk on the course with the chest a little bit more up, you know, and so putting is probably the biggest factor.
Well, he's been walking with his chest out this week. He's putted awfully well. Now, 17, second shot for Mike Reed. And that has gone short into the gallery in the rough over there, but we can see it from where we're at. So Mike Reed will play a third shot from there at 17. Let's go to Frank Hannigan. Frank?
Mark, we told the world, or rather America today, that you got a very bad back this week. How are you feeling?
Well, after those last 2 holes, I feel wonderful. I think anybody would. No, Frank, early in the week, I didn't know if I'd be able to play or not, but I wanted to come back to Royal Birkdale and play the British Open, and fortunately, the back problem's gone away, at least for right now. On Thursday, it was very painful, hurt all around. I didn't know if I'd be able to finish, and luckily posted a decent score of 71, and then came out yesterday, and it didn't hurt too much at all, and came back with a good score yesterday, 68, and then today, besides that little chili dip on 16, I was very fortunate to shoot a good score.
Looks like you're going to be playing tomorrow with Ian Baker-Finch. You guys are neighbors, aren't you, in Florida?
Well, I really thought about
Very high in the air.
And it lands on the right front of the green, so Mark O'Meara at the second hole on the putting surface. Yesterday finished eagle birdie as he did on Friday. And Mark, who began the week with a very tender back, didn't know if he would be able to get through Thursday's round, but did with a 71. Has been feeling better the rest of the week. As we go to Baker-Finch now.
He's 155, also has a 7.
Yep. Oh, great shot.
Fine golf shot there by Ian Baker-Finch. And a realistic chance for a birdie. At the second hole, he shares the lead right now with Mark O'Meara.
You too, bud.
And hi, everybody. Along with David Marr, I'm Roger Twibell, and we welcome you to this final round of the 120th British Open. This is the 7th time the Open has been to Royal Birkdale, and there's been a lot of talk, David, of how well the Americans have done in the past. And it's true, they've won 4 of the previous Opens here, but the other 2 Opens were won by Australian Peter Thompson, and the Australians have been terrific this week, so I guess it's only fitting that in the final pairing, sharing the lead, we have an Australian Ian Baker-Finch, an American Mark O'Meara, and they just so happen to be neighbors in Orlando, Florida.
And they've come a long way, Roger, to play a round of golf together. They only live at a mile and a half apart, and they're very good friends. No surprise that Ian Baker-Finch is there. He is a very fine player, a former Australian Masters winner, Australian PGA. He shot 64 in the 3rd round last year, played in the last group with Nick Faldo when he won. Mark O'Meara has played well all over the world, won tournaments in Japan and over here, and has won here at Royal Birkdale.
You know, the history of the British Open for these 2 men, as you mentioned, Faldo played alongside, of course, Ian Baker-Finch. They were paired together last year. It was a learning experience for Ian. Also in 1984, he was in the last pairing. 85, Mark O'Meara finished 3rd in the British Open. How do they draw on that experience today? What will it mean to him?
Well, Ian Baker-Finch, he said in the press room that when he was 23, he was scared, but it was a learning process. But he did see last year how Faldo won, and he knew that was going to help him. And, of course, as I said, Mark has won here, and he's won twice at Pebble Beach, so he knows seaside conditions.
Well, we mentioned the Australians and how well they're doing. There are 10 Australians playing here this week. 5 have been lurking about the top 10, and one of them is a tall, slender fellow by the name of Mike Harwood, and the next to last pairing with the Irishman Eamon Darcy.
Eamon Darcy, there's a story, and as you said, he thought about retiring earlier in the year, and as soon as he said that, his game came around, and I'm sure he has not applied for any opening at any clubs. Mike Harwood, on the other hand, is not too well known in the United States. He has been the PGA champion here, won that in 1989. A very tall player, 6'4", but he only weighs 168 pounds. Very solid player, calls himself a grinder.
Harwood's wife has to remind him to eat out on the golf course because he gets weak, so she carries some bananas and such with him. And then in the 3rd to last pairing, and to show you what an international field this British Open is, from Fiji, a young man by the name of Vijay Singh, and then, of course, there is Seve Ballesteros lurking not far behind, just 2 shots off the lead.
Well, when you get in a British Open, a lot of times the Seve is lurking there, but we'll first deal with Vijay Singh. He, of course, the Fijian, and he's won twice on the European Tour. Very, very stylish player. Seve, now, would it be remarkable? Here's a 3-time winner of this tournament. First time we saw him in 1976 when he finished 2nd to Johnny Miller at the age of 19. Would fate decree he might be the winner today?
And now down at 18, Jodie Mudd getting set for his second shot.
That is the best angle to come in from today, Roger, and he's got plenty of green there. He can play almost any kind of shot he'd like to play.
That's the wonderful thing about these British Open courses. You get some bad breaks, but oftentimes the way they're cut, you get some very good breaks, and that ball could have gone right or left. And with Jodie Mudd getting some good breaks today, he got another one there at 18, and he has that putt for birdie. And if he just makes par, he will establish a new course record here for the British Open. As we go to Ian Baker-Finch now for the lead at the second hole. Mark O'Meara missed his birdie putt, so this is for the outright lead at 5 under.
Good solid start so far by both of them, and if Ian should make this a real fine start.
So Ian Baker-Finch at 5 under, and the lead right now by 1 over Mark O'Meara with a birdie at the second hole. The 120th British Open, the final round from Royal Birkdale, and we'll be back with more.
In 1986, the Sony Corporation, acknowledging that golf was increasingly a truly international game, conceived a worldwide ranking system, published weekly, that finally enabled the comparison of top professional golfers around the world. Since its inception, only 5 players have headed the Sony rankings. Currently, that honor lies with Welshman Ian Woosnam, master golfer.
The British Open. Brought to you by Kellogg's. The best to you each morning. By Nevada Bob's, the world's largest chain of discount golf pro shops. By Dean Witter. There are many ways to measure success. Dean Witter measures success one investor at a time. And by Lincoln. What a luxury car should be.
In a round of 7 under 63, and he will have 3.5 hours or so to sit back and see what the remainder of the field does. Terrific round of golf. Jodie Mudd, that is a new course record here at Royal Birkdale for the British Open Championship. This man from Louisville, his 3rd British Open at Troon in '89. He finished 5th. Last year at St. Andrews, he closed with a 66 to finish 4th. And another terrific British Open for Jodie Mudd. Now, a moment ago on the tee at the par 3/4, playing 201 yards. It's Vijay Singh. Level par right now. 1 under for the championship, and that could be to 2 under in short order. Now, at the 6th hole, 473-yard par 4, and the most difficult hole on this golf course, Ian Woosnam, with a birdie at 3, a birdie at 4. David, that is such a tough golf hole.
As we said yesterday, Roger, I don't think they've ever made their mind up whether that's a par 4 or par 5. They play it as a 4 now, but it's an awkward golf hole with the bunker sticking out in the fairway at about 250 yards, and it's played havoc with the pros all week.
And the British Open, the betting odds as of today, Ballesteros the favorite of the bettors, and then Baker-Finch, O'Meara. That's kind of interesting. How do you figure that, David? Why did they go in that direction to you?
Well, they call those at home sucker bets. All right? You think it's a cinch, and you go in and tap yourself out.
And the field at 40 to 1. A lot of people pulling for Jodie Mudd to hang in there.
At 40 to 1, if anybody went in to bet, I mean.
There are the other numbers. Faldo fell down to 25 to 1. Of course, he had been the favorite of the bettors all week. Freddie Couples at 25 to 1. As we go to the 4th hole, and Seve Ballesteros looking for a birdie putt. Jerry Pate, he's made a couple of bogeys so far.
Well, Roger, he got off to a very shaky start, and second hole, was all over the golf course, lucky to save par. And then the third hole, he 3-putts from about 15 feet. He's just not really sure of himself, I think. He just doesn't quite have the confidence in his ball striking today or his putting.
David, I think that sometimes Seve, when this weather gets nasty over here, maybe feels more at home than when it eases up a bit.
He's not real sure of his golf game, even though he's played a little better this year, Roger. I don't think he's very confident. He hadn't been able to finish a lot of tournaments here, even though he's won a couple of times here and once in Japan. He's squandered leads the last day, so he's not playing with confidence like Seve.
Let's putt for birdie. 2 over on his round today. And Seve with that putt for par to remain at even for the championship and 5 back of Ian Baker-Finch. Ballesteros, who's leading the European Order of Merit this year. Now at the third hole, Mike Harwood for birdie. .409-yard par 4, even on his round today.
You mentioned in the opening about his bananas. His wife told him yesterday after the 12th hole, you haven't eaten yet, and as soon as he did, he ought to get a banana commercial. He's made 4 birdies after he started munching on the bunch.
Now, this is Vijay Singh, young man from Fiji who learned to play golf by caddying for his father on the one golf course in Nadi, Fiji, and played on the Asian Tour. Would love to play in America. Hasn't gotten any invitations, but I would imagine after a good showing here, those invitations might be forthcoming. Even today, 1 under for the championship. And Vijay Singh now at 2 under par and 3 back of Ian Baker-Finch.
Strange game. While he looks confident and calm, Ballesteros looks like a bundle of nerves. It's the opposite way you would figure it out. Very stylish golfer, Vijay Singh is.
Now, Ian Baker-Finch at the third hole.
3 wood off the tee, has 128 to the flag out of the light rough. Hit with a wedge.
Another fine-looking golf shot by Baker-Finch, who lost in a playoff last week at Sutton, Massachusetts. 7-hole playoff, as a matter of fact. And before Ian Baker-Finch played the second shot of Marco Mira.
Had 166, 8-iron.
Yeah.
Checked up for Mark.
You can do that here because the greens are soft and you get some crisp flies.
On the tee at the par 3 7th hole, playing 160 yards, the tee shot of Ian Woosnam. So the Masters champion, who's made 2 birdies and 1 bogey today, will have that putt for birdie. And Ian Baker-Finch at 5 under, O'Meara 1 back. Other players as we look on down the leaderboard. Greg Norman, who got off to a real good start today, looked like he was going to make one of his patented Sunday charges. Chip Beck, a terrific final round as he opened up with a 3 under 67, and see some of the other names there.
Closed with 66.
Yes. Now, Eamon Darcy on the tee at 4.
201 yards to the hole. That's from an elevated tee with a 4-iron. The breeze from the left is very mild. He started very evenly.
A couple of fine tee shots there. Eamon Darcy playing with Mike Harwood. Well, big crowd around 18, and there's a big crowd out on the golf course too, because David, a record number of players this week because of the 10-stroke rule for the first time here in the British Open.
It allowed 113 players to make the cut, and it costs the R&A almost 100,000 pounds in extra money for those that made the cut that they were counting on.
As we come in from the helicopter over the Irish Sea into the links here at Royal Birkdale. And Mark O'Meara for birdie out at the third hole. Birdied this hole the first day, has parred the last two. And Mark with that left for par. Mentioned his back. He says that sometimes it's more like a pulled muscle in his rib cage area. It's been a very uncertain thing for him. But wanted to play in the British Open. He won the Lawrence Batley International here in 1987 and takes a lot of pride in his international play. As you mentioned, David, having won all over the world. Within 5 strokes, 21. From the UK, 8. From the US, 5. And 3 Australians. And at one point in time, the Aussies had a whole bunch up there, but Wayne Grady and Steve Elkington and a few fell back just a bit. Now, Ian Baker-Finch, it's been a tough 7 days for him. A 7-hole playoff loss at Pleasant Valley last week. Had to get on a plane Sunday night. Came over here, but he's picked right up with his good play as he has this for birdie and a 2-shot lead over Mark O'Meara.
Ian reputation is one of being a very good putter, and when he gets a feel like that, he had a good putt the first hole. It was going in if he just hit it a little harder.
Ian Baker-Finch has birdied 2 of the first 3 holes. Talk about nerves. We mentioned he played in the final pairing with Nick Faldo last year. He has been in this position before. As we look at Lee Trevino, this is at 18. Lee won here in 1971. So Lee Trevino today with a round of 3 under 67. Terrific finish by the Mex, the defending Senior Open champion. We will see him next week at Oakland Hills for the United States Senior Open. And boy, after that final round, David, he's got to be sky high going there.
Absolutely. If you think about it, on Friday when he finished, he made 7 at the last hole to shoot 72. Could have been a real sensational Open for him. Still is something.
And no bogeys by Lee Trevino in his round. And speaking of sensational rounds, let's go down to Frank Hannigan with Jodie Mudd.
Jodie, this championship has been played since 1860. Nobody's ever shot a better score than 63. You just tied the single-round record, the British Open.
Well, I'm pretty proud of it, I tell you. I had a tough day yesterday finishing up, and Jennifer and I talked about last night. I said, you know, I'll try to go out there and shoot 68, and it turns into a 63. So we're real happy right now.
As you were going around the golf course, you had to be thinking now, not in terms of just shooting a low score, but in terms of winning. Were you focusing on any particular number?
No, I really wasn't trying to win the golf tournament. I mean, I was probably finished before the guys got to the second or third hole. But I just enjoy playing over here. I mean, 3 years I've been over here, we've had great weather, and growing up on public golf courses, I've seemed to do well and run the ball up well, and played with Chrissy O'Connor today, and we had a great time, and it's a big thrill for me.
Although you say you weren't trying to win the golf tournament, you're 2 shots off the lead, I think, the last time I looked, so you're not going to go anywhere, are you?
Oh, no, I'll be around. My flight's not going back till tomorrow. But the golf course played a little vulnerable today. The wind very mild, and greens were actually puttable today. I thought were a lot better. And yesterday I made some mistakes. Today I didn't make any mistakes, and real pleased with 63.
You've moved away from good old native Kentucky, and now you're talking about moving back. How's that going?
Well, this year has been kind of a hectic year for me. I haven't played very good, and I played great at times. And we looking forward to moving back to Kentucky, and bought a farm, and looking forward to doing some other things in life besides play golf. I'm not going to be a farmer, though. I'm going to stick with golf. So my wife's growing up in the city, and now we'll be moving to the country, so it might be a little different.
It was wonderful, Jodie. Don't leave. Back up to Roger.
Okay, thank you very much, Frank. Well, that's terrific. We're looking at Seve Ballesteros right now out at the 5th hole, his second shot.
Roger, he played a 1-iron off the tee to this position. Perfect shape, 129 to the flagstick, pin all the way back, 27 deep. Has a little knockdown 8-iron into this wind. Got to get something going.
Shortest par 4 here at 346 yards is this 5th hole. Got something going with that, Jerry. And a little earlier at the 4th hole, Eamon Darcy for birdie to get to 4 under. The Irishman, Eamon Darcy, now 2 behind Ian Baker-Finch. As we go to the tee at 4, and our leader, Ian Baker-Finch.
Hole cut to the left today, so the left bunkers are definitely in play. Ian has a 4-iron.
Four beautiful iron shots in a row.
Wow. I tell you, that's as well as you can strike the ball the way he's played the first 3 holes.
He looked like a confident player right at the moment. And David, you know, he has been one of the better putters in the PGA Tour the past couple of years.
That's his reputation, but I saw him give a clinic in Toronto a couple of weeks ago, and he knows exactly about what Ian Baker needs to do in his golf swing, and that's a big advantage too, knowing what you need to do.
Now, Mark O'Meara. That's how he's played that 4th hole, and birdie par. The best finish tied for 3rd, that was at Sandwich back in 1985.
This hole plays slightly downhill, just a little shorter than the yardage.
Got to be right where he's leaning.
And it catches the bunker. 109 bunkers on this golf course at Royal Birkdale, so Ian Baker-Finch sitting there with yet another chance for birdie as we go to 18, the second shot for Jack Nicklaus. Jack is 1 over on his round today. +5 for the championship. Shot 69 yesterday. And what a good bounce. What a good bounce for Jack Nicklaus at 18. And just as we look at the leaderboard, Baker-Finch with a chance to get to 7 under par and put yet some more distance between himself and the field. Jodie Mudd. What a day for Jodie Mudd. A new course record here and equals a British Open mark. That's fantastic. Round of 63 as Nicklaus makes his way up 18. 1976 when Johnny Miller won, it was Seve Ballesteros at 19 and Jack Nicklaus close on his heels. Second shot out at 16 for Greg Norman. 16th hole, 414-yard par 4. Norman got off to a terrific start on the front side with birdies at 2, 4, and 5, but then bogeyed 8 and 9. But has birdied 10, 14, and 15. 4 under on his round today. 1 under for the championship. So it looked like a typical Sunday charge brewing for Greg Norman, but he lost it at 8 and 9 as Mark O'Meara gets set for his second shot.
Pretty tough shot because of the stance. Just a straightaway bunker shot, but his left foot is very elevated.
That's okay, because usually you hit a little too far behind that one. Good aggressive little shot there. Puts himself where he's got to make that one, though. He can't let Ian get too far ahead of him.
Mark O'Meara taking a look at this putt. He's outside of Baker-Finch, so it's kind of an interesting story. You mentioned about being neighbors. They are both boating, fishing enthusiasts, and Ian's boat was stolen from the back of Mark's property. It was parked there by the beach, and Mark said, I'm glad we're still good friends because...
I'd teach him to leave his boat there.
Well, now we go to 5. Seve Ballesteros is for birdie.
See, that's the kind of putt, the kind of hole that changes a whole round. If he makes that one, especially with that tough 6th hole coming up, it can make a big difference.
Now, Mark O'Meara, this putt for par. Mark has had to withdraw from his last 2 tournaments because of a bad back. Has really only played 3 competitive rounds since the United States Open, but has been getting some treatment of late and did not want to miss this championship. So, O'Meara with a bogey. That'll drop him back to 3 under. Now, Jack Nicklaus at 18. Next year, the British Open at Muirfield. And, David, this man's got some fond memories of that particular course.
I guess they're fond. He even named his course in Ohio after it. But that was his first Open victory in '66 at Muirfield.
Jack began the day at +4. Bogeyed 7 and 8. Came back with a birdie at 10, but a double bogey at 11. But birdies at 14 and 17. And this putt for birdie to get him back to level par on his round today. We had really Nicklaus, Trevino with an excellent round. Gary Player played well in this tournament. The 3 seniors here. And we look at Ian Baker-Finch, looking to move out to a 3-shot lead with this birdie putt. And his 3rd birdie in a row.
That's taking advantage of your good shots, Roger. Now he's got to just keep going. He can't think about being ahead. And I hope Mark starts playing better so they both keep going. I mean, that would help Ian and, of course, help Mark if he comes on.
Ian Baker-Finch has birdied 2, 3, and 4. He's at 7 under par and a 3-shot lead over Eamon Darcy. As we see Nicklaus for his par putt at 18. So Jack Nicklaus, a round of 1 over 71.
See that 69 in the 3rd round there, Roger? He holds the record for most rounds under 70. That makes the 30th time he's had under 70.
Jack played with Jim Payne, a Walker Cupper from England, who is low amateur this year. As we go to Greg Norman for birdie at 16. Greg Norman now at -2, 5 under on his round today. And the Shark has the vulnerable par 5 17th upcoming. Ian Baker-Finch has a 3-shot lead in the final round of the British Open.
The first of Birkdale's Open Championships took place in 1954. Birkdale members were hoping their course would be graced by the presence of the great Ben Hogan, who won the Open in 1953. But Hogan chose not to defend. The winner was 24-year-old Peter Thompson, a no-nonsense, get-on-with-it Australian with a disarmingly simple swing. It was the start of a great run by Thompson, who was to win the championship 5 times in a span of 12 years.
And this is Eamon Darcy at the 5th hole. This long putt for birdie. He is 3 back of Ian Baker-Finch. Darcy's 38 years of age. And he has been playing in the British Open since 1975. Beat Ben Crenshaw in the Ryder Cup, David.
That was the clinching points when they played at our Muirfield in Ohio. Man that's got his own particular style of playing, says he's never taken a lesson, and it kind of lets off all the gurus.
Yeah. And it is absolutely a beautiful day. Maybe not the typical British Open golf day that you think about. If you saw us on Thursday and Friday, there was a lot of wind. There was some rain. There was some cold. players wearing their rain suits and hats and the fans huddled up. But today, a much gentler day. Calm, and the course rather susceptible to scoring. And you look way out, it kind of reminds you of Daytona Beach, Florida, as you look out, the cars way out on the beach, and folks enjoying their Sunday.
It's a little cooler than Daytona.
Yes, it is. You're absolutely right. Now, let's take a look at some of the prominent players here. Of course, Baker-Finch and O'Meara. Greg Norman now at 2 under. Craig Perry, the young Australian who won the Scottish Open last week. He's at 2 under. Trevino at +1. Defending champion Nick Faldo +3. Just had a terrible time with his putting this week. Saw Tom Watson there who won an 83. Robert Gomez loves to play in this tournament, David.
That's good because he's been having a tough year there. And, of course, Phil Mickelson, the amateur champion.
Olazabal, just ever since the Masters, has not gotten it back together.
Jeff Sluman had a bad day today.
Mark Brooks, who was one of the qualifiers here. 22 Americans tried to qualify. 3 did, including Gary Hallberg, who was leading after 36 holes. And we go to Ian Baker-Finch out at the 5th hole, 346-yard par 4.
Baker-Finch is 135 to the flagstick, cut way in the back of the green today. You have to be careful and not knock this ball over the green. It's a good birdie hole, but it's a dangerous kind of a shot. If you knock it over the green, you have a very difficult time to make 4.
All right.
And a fortunate bounce right there for Ian Baker-Finch, and yet another chance for birdie. Frank Hannigan, talked to him, asked him why he wears glasses versus contact lenses on the course.
How come you wear glasses rather than contact lenses?
I don't really see, my eyes aren't that bad. I don't really want them to get to a stage where I'm totally dependent on them. When I'm not playing golf, I take them off and I don't wear them around the house or anything like that. I don't really need them. I don't see as well with contact lenses on. And now I've been wearing these for about a year. I actually started a couple of years ago wearing them to drive at night time. So I just had them in the car and I'd put them on to drive, and I didn't really need them during the day. And when I played at Augusta last year, I realized that when the pins were in the shadows of the pine trees there, I couldn't really see the greens properly. So I started wearing them from then, and I've just got used to it, and I see perfectly with them, and I see really no reason to want to change to the contacts.
Now, Mark O'Meara, his second shot at 5.
From 130.
Fine golf shot by Mark O'Meara. We want to apologize to folks back home if you're experiencing any video difficulties, as Ian Baker-Finch has converted on 3 straight birdies, and Eamon Darcy is 3 shots back. And want to remind you that Saturday on ABC Sports, it's a head-to-head NFL excitement. Yeah, you bet. Football's back. Canton, Ohio is the site when the Denver Broncos take on the Detroit Lions in the AFC-NFC Hall of Fame game. This live preseason classic begins at 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 Pacific, right here on ABC Sports. Now at the 6th hole, Seve Ballesteros.
That's from 183 with a 5-iron. Started the ball out to the right.
Oh, big bounce behind the gallery sitting there, and it's caught up on that hill at this 473-yard par 4, the most difficult hole on the golf course. Well, David, you made a good point back at 5. That could have been a turnaround hole for him.
Well, just such a tough hole here, and you know he's a temperamental or moody kind of guy, and he could have got him in a little better mood.
Now, Vijay Singh.
That's a 6-iron from 162. Also right.
And that hits up in the same area, but he gets a good British Open bounce.
Well, the wind's really changing out here, Roger. It's coming from a different direction now. I think the players are going to see a different course from here to the clubhouse.
That'll be interesting to follow that as we go to the 5th hole, and Mark O'Meara taking a look at this birdie putt. This to get him back to even par and 3 shots behind Ian Baker-Finch. Good putt, though, by Mark. And David, shortest par 4 on the course.
And as you see, if you're looking from the tee going down the fairway, a hole where most of the players use a 1-iron or fairway wood 2-iron to lay up to at the corner here, because length is not the thing that you need so much as in the fairway. And then you play your second shot, today the pin in the back of the green. And like a lot of the greens here, they're back in these little cul-de-sacs. So you're going to see some bounces like Baker-Finch got, not only on the 5th hole, but a number of them.
Now, Fred Couples at the 9th hole, 414-yard par 4, began the day at +1, birdies at 3, 5, bogey at 6, but a birdie at 8. And Freddie, who has played well in the British Opens in year past, 89 at Troon. He was there in contention heading to the weekend. So he goes out in 32 as we go to Ian Baker-Finch looking for his 4th straight birdie. So the streak stops at 3 as he will walk. Boy, good putters like to do that. Walk right up and just finish it off.
It's not going to get any shorter.
Yeah.
Don't think about it too long. Okay?
Well, if you've got a good idea of the line, David, and you feel like you've hit a putt, and you just, in that case, just let it a little short, you just go ahead and...
You know when his eye problem started? He got attacked in a bar. He was minding his own business, and a guy hit him in the eye.
Now at the 10th hole, this is Bob Tway for birdie. And Bob Tway rolls in a birdie putt, and that gets him to 2 under for the championship. 3 under on his round today. Bob, who had a terrific round of 66 the other day, as we go to Greg Norman at 17. This par 5, which plays 525 yards, his second shot, but much shorter than that. And the bounce into the bunkers. So what might have turned out an inch or two to the left is a putt for Eagle. Now he's got some work to do to make birdie. This is Mike Harwood. You see the way he lines up his hands on the putter to make sure his left hand is set right? He's got this putt for birdie at 13, and this to move into sole possession of second place and 2 shots behind Ian Baker-Finch. So one Australian can move within 2 of the other Australian atop the leaderboard.
This putt downhill, slightly breaking from his right to his left. Should be a little bit faster.
That pin's sitting right over a funny little knob. And that little putt that he has right there is a tricky little putt. He's sitting right on top of that knob, which is short of the hole.
Now, Fred Couples' 3rd shot at 17.
A nice lie, but the ball below his feet.
That's probably about a 60-foot bunker shot, isn't it, Judy?
It is, at least, Jack, and he has to get it up quickly.
Oh, what a great shot. That did not look like it was playable to me.
Well, he's been fooling around with the Harmon boys. Butch has been helping him, and Dickie, and of course his father was a master bunker player, and I know that he's learned a lot from just fiddling around the times he's been in Houston.
Do you have their telephone number?
I've been trying to tell you for years, Jack. You just won't listen.
Eamon Darcy now at 13 for birdie. This could get him within 2 of Baker-Finch. That was a fine putt. Very unique style, this Eamon Darcy, 38-year-old Irishman. Thought about quitting golf earlier this year, and all of a sudden started playing good.
And he thought about quitting.
Now, Bob Tway at 18, his second shot. He's 4 under on his round today, 3 under par for the championship. back and right. He's over the bunker, down in a little swale there.
Move back toward the hole, though. Not too far from the hole, Roger.
No, that's not a bad place at all.
Not too good a swing for Mr. Tway there, PGA champion.
Now Mike Harwood for par. This to remain at 5 under. It's the 13th hole. So he negotiated that tricky putt.
It was tricky. Didn't look like it, but it was.
Well, his renown is a good putter, too, and he does that with the back of his left hand to try to get that right in line with the face of the putter.
Well, Bob Tway coming up to 18. Jodie Mudd, once again, early today, went out, made 8 birdies and a bogey, a Royal Birkdale course record for the British Open, 7 under 63, and equaled the low score ever in a British Open at 63. And some of the other players as we take a look down the leaderboard here at Royal Birkdale. Now, second shot at 13 for Baker-Finch.
From 205 with a 4-iron.
And while Baker-Finch gets adjusted to his shot out at 13, we're going to go to Fred Couples for birdie at 17. This to get within 2 of the man we just saw, Ian Baker-Finch.
Let's get Freddie to get that putter through the ball and not break it off at the ball. He broke it off again.
He did something there he couldn't miss, starting the back 9 from all sorts of distances. Just what you were afraid of, Roger. Then all of a sudden down toward the finish.
Well, we've seen him play so many times when it seems like he can step up to a 15, 20-footer and just roll it in so well. And as we saw at Shoal Creek last year in the PGA Championship, putts of that length just a little longer, Jack, caused him some problems.
Well, Roger, what he does is, and I know it so well because the same thing I do, when that putter, the heel of the putter gets to the ball, he sort of relaxes on it and the putter breaks left. Now, he didn't do it on that little putt because he knew he was going to make it. But you've got to keep the heel of the putter traveling right on the same line as the rest of the putter. And I think if Freddie would change that, I think he'd eliminate that problem.
Well, he made 5 there yesterday. He makes 5 again today. Not good scores for Fred Couples as we go to Baker-Finch. That releases a bit towards the back of the green. Ian Baker-Finch leads by 3 in the final round of the British Open.
When the Open returned to Birkdale in 1976, the course was very dry and fire was a constant threat. The rough was dry enough to be ignited by a discarded cigarette, and it was also uncharacteristically hot. Just as hot in that period was the golf game of Johnny Miller, who was inclined to go off on the wildest of scoring sprees, like his 63 to win the US Open at Oakmont in 1973. At Birkdale, Miller played one of his great final rounds, a 66, tying the course record and won by 6 strokes from Messrs. Nicklaus and Ballesteros.
And we welcome you back, Mark O'Meara for birdie out at 13. Mark with just 1 birdie so far today as we go to Bob Tway. This is for par at 18 and a final round for Bob Tway. 4 under, 66. He had 2 of those in this tournament. Started with a 75 and he finishes this 1991 British Open Championship at -3. Wonderful tournament for Bob as we go to Eamon Darcy. 14th.
That's a 5-iron from 199. Just pulled it big to the left.
Took a big bounce and goes up into the gallery.
Not a good shot at all.
Well, even though the wind has calmed down, we're still seeing people go left at that hole, which we've seen during the days when there has been so much wind. Now Baker-Finch, this for birdie. He's at 8 under. This would give him a 4-shot lead.
Get it! In the hole! Get it!
he'll mark as we go to the tee at 18. Freddie Couples won at Memphis, finished third at the Western Open, tied for third at the U.S. Open. He has been on a terrific run here during the past 6 weeks. His tee shot at the 18th with an iron. And Frank Hannigan had a chance to speak with Fred Couples. Let's listen to that conversation.
You're on a terrific roll the last couple of months. How you can't finish out of the top 10. What's going on?
Well, you know, I took a rest, and it always helps me. A lot of times people, you know, second guess what I'm going to do, and it's nice to have people pay attention to what you're doing, but I like to get away. It was doing me no good to play golf because I wasn't beating anyone, so it was more fun to go home. And
what do you do when you're home?
Well, that month I really didn't do anything. I pruned trees and went to a couple ball games and just relaxed. And when I came back, I was really surprised, you know, how well I played. And of course, Westchester certainly helped, and obviously U.S. Open. I just got off to a good start and it snowballed. But at Memphis again, you know, I don't win too often, and when I play well, you know, I feel like I should win. And that time, you know, I bettered the field, and it was a lot of fun to do that. But overall, you know, it was just the rest certainly helped.
One thing Fred does awfully well is he likes doing nothing, just relaxing.
He's very good at that.
Well, he lets Deborah do everything. I mean, she rides the horses and goes all over. And
well, if he could make her 3 here, it might put a little light ahead of Ian Baker-Finch.
He can just see the top of the flag from 205 yards. It looked like he pulled a 5-iron.
Well enough.
He made 3 at 18 yesterday, but it will be a long putt. He's made that distance today, hasn't he, David?
He's made, well, not quite that long, but that shot is almost exactly where he hit it yesterday, but the flag was about 6 inches from the ball.
Now, remember, Eamon Darcy pulled his tee shot at 14 way left. He's got this for par.
Well, he backed off at just a second rod. I think he could hear the gallery applauding on 18. Very important putt at this stage of the game for Eamon.
Just to keep him within 3.
Plenty of Irishmen out here, too, I promise you. They're pulling hard for him. Just looked like he came right out of it when he stroked it, Jack.
Yeah, it did look like it came up a little bit on Jerry. And, you know, it looks like that green looks like it breaks, but it doesn't. Now, Mike's putt does break a little bit. I had that putt from behind the hole today, and it broke, and it's one of the few putts that rolled like it looked.
And as we were listening to Jack Nicklaus there, we want to remind you that Saturday on ABC Sports will return with another of golf's premier events, as Lee Trevino will defend his title in the U.S. Senior Open Golf Championship live from Oakland Hills in Birmingham, Michigan. Our coverage begins at 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central, 12:30 Pacific. That's Saturday on ABC Sports. And, of course, Jack will be there playing, as will Gary Player, who had a good tournament here at Birkdale. And Mike Harwood gets set for this par putt. Jack, what about the Oakland Hills course?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We're going here from probably the flattest greens you'll ever putt to Oakland Hills, which are probably as difficult a set of greens as I've ever played. So it's going to be very interesting. Oakland Hills is a nice golf course and a tough golf course, Roger.
Nice save by Mike Harwood, and that keeps him at -5. So Harwood still in contention. 2 under on his round today. Eamon Darcy made his bogey, so he'll drop back. Last Irishman to win the British Open was Fred Daly back in the 1940s. So Eamon's carrying a lot of years with him there, a lot of pressure.
He's a very popular guy, too. Eamon Darcy's been around the European Tour a long time, played on some Ryder Cup teams.
So we go from Eamon Darcy to Mark O'Meara.
Holes 199, actually downwind right at this time. 5-iron.
Good shot. Good shot.
Left front.
Well, it might be a good shot for those guys, but I don't think that's what Mark needs at the moment.
I think they said good shot to every shot that they hit behind that tee. I don't think Mark would be real happy with that.
Now, Baker-Finch.
Talking with Pete Bender, his caddy, he said he's been in this kind of a zone for about 6 weeks where everything he's hit has been right at the flag. He said it's just been amazing.
Well,
Is that a 4 or 5 iron, Russell?
I think he's got a 4-iron out, Jack.
I think it's a 4 iron, just hold it a little bit. Wind coming a little bit off the right.
he's got a plane coming overhead. 30 years of age.
Let it get away from you to the left, and most everybody's let the ball get away left because it's just not any bargain to miss that green right.
Winner of nearly $475,000 this year on the PGA Tour. Looking for his first victory of the year. Safe shot there by Ian Baker-Finch, and now we go to Fred Couples at 18. This for birdie in a round of 63. Well, Fred Couples made a move on the backside when he birdied 10, 11, 12, and 13. He'll tap that in to par in a round of 64 in this British Open, where he finished 4th in 84, he finished 4th in 88, he finished 6th in 89, and another terrific finish for Fred. It gave everybody a lot of excitement as we go to 15 and Seve Ballesteros, his third shot.
Vamos, entra bola. Entra en el hoyo.
What was that, Jack?
Whatever it is, I'm going to learn it.
Seve Ballesteros with a little Spanish at 15, and we'll return in a moment.
A golfing prince was anointed at the 1976 Open Championship here at Birkdale. He was the 19-year-old Spaniard Seve Ballesteros, a wild-hitting, self-taught genius who played with a flair all his own. Seve, a virtual unknown, held the 2-shot lead after 54 holes over Johnny Miller. Miller's 66 in the final round was too much for Seve at the age of 19, but there was no doubt that someone very special had arrived. Seve has since won this championship 3 times.
At 15 now, Seve Ballesteros, this putt for birdie. Par 5, and for Seve, just his second birdie of the day as we move to Ian Baker-Finch out at 14. Baker-Finch will mark, and right now let's go to Frank Hannigan. Frank?
With me is Bob Tway. Well, look at here, one-upping on Roger Twyble, who had an old course tie on, but you got the whole shirt.
Well, I thought this would kind of work on a day like today, the last day of the Open.
Wonderful score today. How was it playing on the back nine that we're watching with these other fellas struggle with now?
Well, actually, today is the first day you can really go out there and play golf. You know, the weather is very nice right now, so you can shoot a good score.
You like playing over here compared to playing in Oklahoma in the middle of summer?
Well, I love coming over here. This type of golf we don't ever get to play at home. You know, we have to keep our ball in the air all the time. But it's nice to come over here and kind of fight the elements, you know, for a few days and then play a lot of different types of shots.
Okay, thanks very much. Nice going. Back up to Roger.
Okay, thank you very much, Frank. Mark O'Meara makes his par, so Mark remains at +1 on his round today, and -3. Just hasn't been able to get anything going. As we look at Mike Harwood now, this is at 15, par 5. And he'll have that left for his third shot. By the way, Baker-Finch made his par putt. He remains 3 shots in front. Well, the grandstands in golf were introduced at the British Open about 25 years ago. At Birkdale this week, there are 15,000 seats, half of them at the 18th green. Well, the USGA would love to do the same for the U.S. Open every year, but the big old trees get in the way. Golf spectators in the grandstands are a different breed. All they can see is 1/18th of what's going on, so it doesn't take too much to make them happy. And we'll return with more golf action from the 120th British Open after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Well, a moment ago, Mark O'Meara, his second shot out at 15, the par 5.
It's from 265 out of a good lie.
Hang on. Right there.
And it's going to come up just short of the bunker there. So, Mark O'Meara there. He's got to make something here. You know, the last 2 days he's made eagle birdie at 17 and 18. So, now Ian Baker-Finch, his second shot at 15.
He's also 265.
Boy, he's got all kinds of trouble with this.
3 wood.
What a play. Run it out. Can you believe that shot? That guy is in some kind of ozone. I mean, there's all kinds of trouble, all ways to lose the British Open with that second shot right there.
That's just what you were talking about, though. When you feel like you're going to win and you're making good swings, you do things that you wouldn't normally do.
Yeah, look at those bushes.
I've seen those bushes.
I've been around these golf tournaments a long time, and those bushes get larger and you come down near the end of the tournament.
Well, that is the 15th
They move them in
hole.
about 10 yards.
Now, on the tee at 16 is Mike Harwood.
Started the ball right down the center. Very nice drive. Absolutely no wind out here right now.
414-yard par 4. This hole has generally played into the wind. That's why it's been the second most difficult during the week.
It's a very difficult hole. It's the one hole where the rough on the left is just really bad, right? That real lush place over that left. But today they're driving it by that spot.
Now, Eamon Darcy. Double bogey on the last hole. Bogey on the hole before that.
Nice shot. Started down the left side, cut it back into the center. Perfect position.
And just jumps out of a divot there. So we move from the 16th hole. We'll just pan over to the right a bit from way up on top. And a good look down at our final pairing of the day, Mark O'Meara. 15 has been the second easiest hole today, a scoring average of 4.80. 37 birdies out there today.
Isn't that amazing on that hole?
Yeah.
Well, they weren't getting close to it the first 3 rounds.
Oh, come on, just stay. Just move along.
I'll be back before you even know it.
That wasn't necessarily the smartest shot I ever saw a player play, but he's just playing so well.
Baker-Finch, his third shot at the par 5.
Well, sometimes you don't even think about the trouble.
Nearly jumped it in the hole. Baker-Finch. What else can you do but smile? I mean, everything's going right, and as he strides up to put a mark on his golf ball, we'll tell you that from July here in Great Britain, they just finished a football season, a new league, well, the old league, the old National Football League, is going to get back after it on Saturday. It's head-to-head excitement in Canton, Ohio, when the Denver Broncos take on the Detroit Lions in the Hall of Fame game. Preseason Classic begins at 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 Pacific, right here on ABC Sports. Now, third shot for Mark O'Meara.
Mark needs a chip in here to get back in the center.
It's at -3. 5 shots behind.
He played that chip to break left, and he got it out too far, then it breaks the other way. And I mean, we've seen that all week.
Well, one of the interesting comments that was made this week by Ryder Cup captain, the European Ryder Cup captain, Bernard Gallagher, was that no American would finish in the top 5, and Peter Ellis told him that he ought to go to a dark room and lay down for a while because he was just trying to be antagonistic and he didn't know what he was talking about. The question is now, Jack, will there be a European in the top 5? Because there's definitely going to be an American there, or 2, or 3.
It doesn't look like it. Seve's the only one that's got a chance. Well, Eamon's got a chance too, but it's they're I guess about 7th place right now. But Americans have done very well, and the Australians have done very well.
They kind of like to stir things over here with those papers too. Now, there was another rebuttal today by Bernard, who's kind of a feisty guy in a way. Anyhow, played on a number of Ryder Cup teams, and he's the captain this year. I don't know whether you said that or not, but he'll be exciting to talk to.
Now, Baker-Finch for birdie at 15. Look at that break.
First bad putt, though.
Yeah.
That was not good. Remember, Harwood was on that line a moment ago and just caught the left side of the hole.
Well, he still has a 3-shot lead as we go to Eamon Darcy.
147 yards, slightly in the wind with an 8-iron. Well done.
The divot just kind of laid over. It didn't leave the ground.
And the club never got through the ball. He got the club stuck in the ground and did it, but he still hit a beautiful shot.
Very unique style of player. Eamon Darcy as we go to Mark O'Meara now for birdie at 15. This to get him within 4 and some kind of chance.
To have any chance, I think he's got to make this unless Baker-Finch just comes unglued. But it's not over. There's still a lot of trouble.
Well, a lot can happen at 17, and 16's a difficult
Trevino
par
can
four.
tell you that.
Yeah. There you go. Mark O'Meara with just his 2nd birdie today. Gets him back to level par in his round and 4 under for the championship and 4 back of Baker-Finch. So as they move to the tee at 16, we'll move out into the fairway and the 2nd shot for Mike Harwood.
Mike has 140 with a little 8-iron.
He's 3 back of our leader.
He started it right on line with the flag.
Nice play, good birdie chance for Mike Harwood to pull within 2 of fellow Australian Ian Baker-Finch in the final round of the British Open.
Tom Watson has won 5 British Open titles, a towering achievement. His last victory was here at Birkdale in 1983. Watson came to the final hole needing a par 4 to win. He hit a big drive, but still needed a 2-iron to get home. He hit a great shot, on the flag all the way. He rolled his first putt up to within 18 inches and then tapped in for his 5th Open victory in just 9 years.
Now we welcome you back to Royal Birkdale. Good look at the tee at 16, our final pairing. Difficult par 4, playing the 3rd hardest hole today here at Royal Birkdale. 2nd hardest for this championship, just 10 birdies.
If there's ever a tee shot that has to go in play for Ian Baker-Finch, because you got the bushes and the hard, bad bunkers and the bushes on the right, and they got the only hole with the deep rough is on the left. So he needs to put it straight. And he did.
Has he driven the ball beautifully today?
Well, that's
wow.
When we got here early this week, everybody has always said that the key to Birkdale is driving. It isn't always so in the British Open, but at this particular golf course, it really is the key.
And while that was going on, at 16, back on the tee, up on the green, Mike Harwood. This putt for birdie to get within 2 of Ian Baker-Finch. And Mike Harwood now, just 2 shots back with 2 holes to go. 2 Australians atop the leaderboard. And before Baker-Finch hit his tee shot, Mark O'Meara.
This is a tremendous drive here by O'Meara. He's driven the ball up there about 130 yards from this pin.
The cameraman better look out there. Look at him. Whoops. There we go. One of the audio fellas says a few minutes ago at 18, third shot for another Australian, fine young player Craig Perry, who won the Scottish Open last week.
Also, Roger, we talked about how great it is American players come over here to try to qualify, and he came over to our Open this year and led the field that he was in to qualify for the U.S. Open.
And
he's a fine player, this Craig Perry.
Second on the European Order of Merit, birdie 17 and 18, and Craig Perry.
Funny story about whenever we last played at Muirfield, I caddied for my son Jack, and he pre-qualified with Craig going around. We had a nice time. He was a nice player. Worked his way up.
Well, this is one of the two giant scoreboards mounted atop the grandstands at 18. They're operated manually from within like the good old days at the ballparks. A charming system, and it hides the computer that's doing the thinking. The operators are all members of British school and university golf teams. And folks, they've got the best view in the house. 18. We'll return with more golf action from the British Open after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
The British Open. Brought to you by Merrill Lynch. We have the knowledge and the resources to provide you the answers you need. By BP, a leading producer of oil and gas for America's energy needs. By Lincoln, what a luxury car should be. And by Kellogg's, the best to you each morning.
And just a moment ago, second shot at the par 4 16th for our leader, Ian Baker-Finch.
150 with a 7-iron.
Like that one, Petey? I love it. You like that one, Bud? Love it.
Ian talking to his caddy, Pete Bender. They both like that shot a lot.
Pretty nice shot.
That's pretty calm when you can just go back and forth with your caddy.
Now on the tee at 17, the par 5, Mike Harwood, just 2 shots behind fellow countryman Ian Baker-Finch.
Boy, he's hung that ball out to the right and has not hit it very well.
Jerry had an iron?
Couldn't see from down here,
Roger,
like it
but was an iron.
Ball got very lucky there, jumped over the mound. Perfect lie.
It's a metal club.
Was it a metal club?
Yeah.
But you now remember, now they're playing such a short iron into 16, so all of a sudden that mound on the right on 17 is going to come and play. You're not going to carry it by such great a distance. I mean, Mark O'Meara here is playing a short iron or 9-iron or wedge.
I'll be as good as you look.
That was a wedge, Jack.
Well, then, if you're playing a wedge into 16, obviously the mound on to the right on 17 is 250 yards to carry, so Harwood may not have hit it all that well, but it's still, he got over, and he probably can't get home in 2 from where he is.
Now, Baker-Finch. This is live now for Ian Baker-Finch for birdie. And as the putts were rolling so smoothly earlier and right in the hole, he'll just go ahead and step up and make his 4 to remain at 8 under par, 4 under on his round today.
He's not going to be very unhappy with 4 there, though. That's a good score.
If he'd have made that one, though, he could sure play those last 2 anyway he wanted to, practically.
So 16 is a good hole to get by without any trouble as we go down and take a look at Mike Harwood.
Mike has a perfect lie. Ball stopped right in the crosswalk on a little flat spot, slightly on an upslope. He's going to take out a 3-wood, and he has 278 to the pin.
Jerry, I can't remember seeing anybody that far back on this hole this week.
Well, he hit the top of the mound and dropped down. He is certainly a long ways out. And a matter of fact, Jack, the last time I remember seeing anyone hit this green from there, 1976, I watched you take a driver in a practice round and put it on from there. So he's a long ways out.
He hasn't driven well on this hole. He did the same thing yesterday. Roger, he only hit it about 250 yards, he said. He hit the top of that.
That's why I thought he might have taken a 1-iron or something.
You saw his ball bounce backwards. when it landed. So, you know, I mean, he obviously didn't get any forward roll, but...
Well, maybe a chance to get it back with this shot.
Well, that's way in the right gallery. It still leaves him an open shot from there to the flagstick, though. Should not be all that bad, according to the lie.
Boy, isn't it interesting? This hole has been so easy for the players so far this week. So many eagles and birdies and such. And now you come down to a situation, 2 shots behind, and think you can grab something here. Now you're going to have to work to make par.
Well, I think that they all consider it a par 4, Roger. And when you have it, when you look at it as a long, tough par 4, is exactly what it is. And when the wind drops out, then it becomes a really tough par 4. But you still think mentally that you should make the 4.
Now, Mark O'Meara for birdie at 16. Just to get him within 3. Oh, what a wasted chance there.
That was one of those greens that the ball breaks on.
Now, Seve at 18, second shot. So Seve Ballesteros, 1 over on his round today, 1 under for the championship. Opened up with that 4 under 66 and had the lead after the first day, but went out early in some very difficult weather on Friday morning and shot 3 over 73. As you look down at 18 at Royal Birkdale, Ian Baker-Finch on his way to the 17th hole with a 2-shot lead over Mike Harwood, who was playing that hole at the time. Norman finishes at -1. You know, interesting thing, David, about Greg Norman. He's 43rd on the U.S. money list. He's not qualified for next year's Master, and he either has to win a tournament in the U.S. I think he's only going to play about 5 more between now and Augusta, which means he's really no cinch there for next year.
No, but he's also got the start of next year.
Yeah.
You take people that win tournaments up to that time. But, you know, he needs to get on track somehow.
Or if something would happen in those last 5 where he could earn enough money to get into the top 30. But anyway, that's something we can kind of follow as the year progresses. And Seve Ballesteros with a big applause as he comes up 18. Yeah, that's wonderful. Acknowledging the crowd as we go to Baker-Finch on the tee at 17. And once again, another fairway for Ian Baker-Finch, the leader by 2, with 17 and 18 to go in the 120th British Open.
Hale Irwin was close to the lead during the 3rd round of the 1983 Open Championship at Birkdale when he came to the short 14th. He putted up to just an inch or so from the hole and then made a backhanded swing and missed. Irwin played a brilliant final round of 67. He finished exactly 1 stroke behind, the price of that backhanded miss.
'18th hole, the gallery starting to line the entire fairway here as we go to Mike Harwood, his 3rd shot at 17.
Has a sand wedge out. Pitching it all the way to the hole.
Sit down.
A little too hard, Raj.
Well, he'll have a chance for birdie to get within 1 of Ian Baker-Finch. 6 eagles and 73 birdies today at 17, the easiest. David, you were remarking about Lee Trevino here in, 71 at 17?
71, when Mr. Lou finished second. Lee had a 3-stroke lead going to 17, and he got hung up in that sand dune to the left that Ian Baker-Finch flirted with just a second ago, and couldn't get the ball off that dune because it kept going in a bad lie. So, you know, there's no safe lead here, really.
And he made 7 there?
He made 7 there and only won by 1 then.
Now, Mike Harwood, his birdie attempt at 17. this to get to 7 under and 1 shot behind Ian Baker-Finch. So 17, which has been most receptive, jumps up and grabs Mike Harwood. It also did the same to Fred Couples. Both players looking to get something at this hole, which they have all week, but on this final day of the British Open, for these players chasing the leader Ian Baker-Finch, it's not to happen. As we look at Vijay Singh now with this putt for par at 18. Began the day at -1, makes his par putt. He shoots a 1/71, even par for the championship, and the native of Fiji congratulates Spain's Seve Ballesteros. And the scene at 18 now has calmed down just a bit. People sitting up on the sand hills down the fairway as the final 2 groups are ready to make their way. Ian Baker-Finch, the leader by 2. One previous victory on the PGA Tour. He won at Colonial in 1989. Last year had 3 second-place finishes. Has had 3 second-place finishes this year. And Mark O'Meara, who began the day with a share of the lead with Baker-Finch, his second shot.
215 yards, 5 iron.
Get a little right. Be right.
Oh. He's eagled this hole the last 2 days.
Almost as impressive, he's birdied the 18th in those 2 days right behind it.
And with yet another chance for eagle for Mark O'Meara.
Ian Baker-Finch is 200 yards.
3-3.
He has a 6
You
iron.
get that in your mind. Sorry, Rusty. 6 iron?
That's a 6 iron, Jack. Right at the middle of the green.
Kind of looked like it might have took a real high bounce, like it might have hit a cut of the grass there or something and checked up short of the green.
Yeah, but that's all right. He can putt it from there. He can do about what he wants, and he's in very good shape.
So we go from 17 and our leader Ian Baker-Finch to the tee at 18. It's about a 20-yard walk up the hill from the green at 17 to the tee at 18. This hole playing the 3rd hardest today here at Royal Birkdale. Just 6 birdies so far today at 18.
That's a driver off there today, headed down the right-hand side.
It's found that little trail now. It kicks left into some of the deeper rough, but we can see the ball. So that's Mike Harwood's tee shot. And right now, let's go to Frank Hannigan.
With Fred Couples. Freddie, 64, it was magic, except for 15 and 17.
Well, it really was. I finally had some makeable birdie putts and hit the one on 15 a little bit tentative, and on 17 I kind of misread and I tried to pound it in the hole and hit it too hard. But I made 30 and 40 footers like they were giving them to me, so it was a great way to finish.
Sometime after you were making those 30 and 40 footers, though, you had to think you had a shot to get in and sneak this thing off, didn't you?
Well, I did. I birdied 10, 11, 12, and 13, and I looked up, and Ian Baker-Finch was 9 under. And I told my caddy, I don't have that many holes left, so I tried to knock it on 15. I misclubbed a little bit. I thought it would come out a little harder. But, 17, it would have been nice to birdie just to keep a real good round going. I just wish a lot more putts would have gone in because it was one great putting day for me.
Okay. You're not going back to the States next week?
No, I'm 2 more weeks over here. I'm going to stay over and play in Dutch and then Stockholm. And, I enjoy playing with the European Tour just to see how they play. And I played with Constantino Rocca today, and he didn't play that well, but it was just fun, to see, just to play with different guys. I mean, not that our players aren't fun to play with, but it's fun to go play different kinds of golf courses and play with different people.
Okay. Then you like playing this bouncy golf even though you hit it high up in the air?
Well, I do. I'll be honest. I don't want anything back, but I wish it would have been tougher today. But Ian Baker-Finch is the 2 rounds he's played the last.
Good luck next week, Freddie, and thanks for coming. Back up to Roger.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Freddie Couples around a 64 as we look at Ian Baker-Finch now. Just off the putting surface, backed away, some noise. Now he's set to go.
In the hole!
This for eagle. And Baker-Finch will have that for birdie to get himself a 3-shot lead. Mark O'Meara has this putt for eagle, which would get him to -6. Jack, you were mentioning when you've made 3-3 2 days in a row, you just get used to doing that, don't
Well,
you?
you get it in your mind that that's what you're going to do, and that's what you shoot for. And if you get something in your mind and you get a positive thought about it, quite often it'll happen. I'm sure that the one that he did yesterday was as a result of the one the day before, you know, to a great degree.
So O'Meara for eagle, just to get him to 6 under. And a share of second place with Mike Harwood. And Mark will tap that in for his birdie. He's now at 5 under par, 1 under on his round today. And we move to the man that's 6 under, Mike Harwood, second shot at 18.
He has 208 with a 5-iron. Perfect lie in the rough. Ball needs to get up and run a little bit.
Oh, it just jumped over the bunker. But it goes up on top of that slope behind the green. Mike Harwood, there in 2 at 18. Ian Baker-Finch, short putt for birdie at 17 to get to 9 under par. Tee shot at 18 for Baker-Finch. He made that short birdie putt at 17 to get to 9 under. He's got a 3-shot lead, and that is way left into that deep grass.
That's a very safe place to be, though.
Okay.
That was on purpose, Roger. You don't want to flirt with the out of bounds on the right. He's got, he can do whatever he wants to do. Practically, I mean, he can make 6 here. Look like he can still win unless this man were to hold this one.
This is Mike Harwood for birdie at 18.
He has a putter out. He knows he must hold this putt.
Now he's got some work left for his par. Couples and O'Meara are at 5 under. And this was Mark O'Meara's tee shot before Ian Baker-Finch just a moment ago. So Ian Baker-Finch with a 3-shot lead playing 18, and we'll return with more golf action from the 120th British Open after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
WWSB Channel 40. ABC Sports exclusive coverage of the 120th British Open continues.
Well, welcome back. The crowd streaming now up the fairway at the 18th, and up on the 18th green, Mike Harwood, this putt for par to remain at -6 and sole possession of second place. That's a fine save by Mike Harwood. A final round 67, and the lanky Australian who plays on the European Tour, played in the United States Open this year at Hazeltine, made the cut, finished down the list a bit, tied for 49th.
Maybe he'll get some of those invitations next year that he wrote about this year. No one ever responded to them.
A lot of people wishing they might have. Now, our final pairing, Mark O'Meara, Ian Baker-Finch, down at 18.
Mark is 236 to the hole. Wind has turned around in back of the players again.
Terrific golf shot.
That's seaside golf there.
You couldn't play that shot at home in a million years. That ball landed 60 yards short of the green, and he played it that way. He just probably took a little 1-iron there and just kept it right on the ground.
Well, now second shot for Ian Baker-Finch.
He's 225 yards from the hole, has a reasonably good lie. It's not the kind of a lie where anything will catch the club and turn it sideways. I think you'll see a pretty good shot from him here.
So Baker-Finch with a 3-shot lead comes up short, but what a way to come home. The 18th hole, the British Open, Jack, and a 3-shot lead makes that walk awfully nice.
Oh, it's kind of fun. I remember the last time I had the opportunity to do it, Roger, and it was, I had a 2 or 3 shot lead. I'm walking up the 18th hole, and you just sort of enjoy the crowd and you enjoy the people, and you sort of have a great feeling inside you. And then all of a sudden you get up near your ball and your caddy will sort of tap you on the shoulder and say, Ian, we've got a couple more shots to play. Let's get this over with. And you got to get back down to business. But what a wonderful feeling.
It's almost like a vacuum from behind that just pulls you on up as the people are gathering from behind the gallery and the grandstand, some 10 to 12,000 already sitting there watching. And the scene, one of the most familiar in sports, the walk up the 18th of the British Open, and the leader, Ian Baker-Finch. Only a walk, but he has to catch his breath right now. 30 years of age, born in Nambour, Australia, makes his home in Orlando, Florida. A tear in the eye.
Already showing.
Yeah. Rounds of 71-71 on Thursday and Friday. And then David, the Eagle at 17 on Saturday, really broke the tournament open.
That round he shot, then it's gotten a lot better since then. And this is a round, Roger, when he looks back over his career, this may be the round of his life, and what a time to have it.
64 on Saturday. He is 5 under on his round today, and what a terrific start for Ian Baker-Finch with birdies at 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7 as he went out in 29 on the par 34 front side. This is third shot now. birdie and 1 bogey on the back 9 for Ian Baker-Finch, who a year ago was paired with Nick Faldo. Final pairing at St. Andrews, and he shot 73 back in 1984. After rounds of 68 and 66 and 71, he shot 79 in the final rounds. He went back, and David, he pulled from those particular times. All of that hurt, all of that knowledge that he gained, and today he applied it, and I don't know if I've ever seen a more confident golfer go off and execute shots like he did during the first 9 holes of this championship on the final day.
Not only that, the front 9, the back 9 when he took the driver at 15, terrific shot there. Second shot at 16, the driver at 17 when he didn't have to. So look at some of the scores there. Find one of your favorites or a number of your favorites. Low amateur Jim Payne.
Low amateur Jim Payne, who, of course, will be playing for the European Walker Cup team. As he said before he went off, he says, this will do myself and my team a lot of good when we meet the United States and Phil Mickelson at Portmarnock in Dublin come September.
Looking forward to that.
And, of course, we'll be at the Senior Open. You see Gary Player at +6, the Senior Open at Oakland Hills in Birmingham, Michigan, just outside of Detroit. A golf course that Ben Hogan had a couple of very interesting words to say, didn't he, David?
And it's pretty good rounds there, too, in 1951.
What was it? He brought the monster to its knees?
That's what he supposedly said, and he brought everybody else to the knees, too, with the last round, 67.
Well, the crowd here at 18 has gathered. This is Mark O'Meara for birdie, and to get a share of second place with Mike Harwood. The putter was just not there today, the point. But Mark O'Meara will tap that in. Final round at 1 under 69. And a big round of applause for O'Meara, who won the Lawrence Batley International here at Royal Birkdale in 1987. His best finish before in a British Open was at Sandwich in 85 when he tied for 3rd. And once again, for Mark O'Meara, a tie for 3rd. Freddie Couples, of course, at 5 under. And now Baker-Finch. And this putt for par. Well, he had several putts, David, that he could use at this 18th hole, as he played 18 with a 3-shot lead over Mike Harwood. Ian Baker-Finch, the bogey at 18, the final round of 66, and the 1991 British Open champion at Royal Birkdale, which has seen now 4 Americans. Peter Thompson, the Australian, win it twice, and Ian Baker-Finch, the Australian, win his first major. His wife, Jenny, his daughter, Haley, down there with him. And what a wonderful day for this very nice man from Orlando, Florida, where he makes his home right now.